It's the Brad and John Show.
The Brad and John Show for June 30th. This is the last day of June, the last day of first quarter, last day of first half of the year, and the last day for me being a human being. How's that, John? Tomorrow I turn into...
Wow, yeah.
Tomorrow I turn into a Homo sapien. Okay, first off, before we get into the glyphosate thing, see, I have a problem with that. Like, for example, I have two words that, well, there's a couple words in my mind that more than two words, but I have two that I get mixed up all the time. Testosterone or testosterone. It's testosterone, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And it's glyphosate?
No, glyphosate.
See,
glyphosate.
I get those syllables mixed up all the time.
That's okay, Brad. People do that all the time. It's not unique to you.
Okay. I'm going to compliment another radio station in town. And here I go promoting, and I'm not wild about promoting one of the corporate guys, iHeart, but they have a show in the morning show called Jubal, Jubal. Jubal.
Oh, I listen to that in the car sometimes, Brad.
Jubal is a dude. Have you ever heard the first date follow-up segment they do?
No, I usually skip over that, but I'm aware they do that segment.
They had one that, and this is actually out on the internet. It's on Facebook, and I've seen it a couple other places. The story behind this is they get on the air and they say, "Hey, if you had a first date that you thought went well, and then the person you went out with is ghosting you, call us and tell us the story." So people call and they go, "Yeah, I had a first date with this guy and it went real well, blah, 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 blah." Okay, and then what they do is they get the phone number of the dude or dudette who is the opposite side of the equation on the first date, and then they have the other person listen in. So there's like a three-way conversation, person listening in, and then they put the other person on the air. Okay, this woman calls in and talks about how she had this wonderful date with this guy and everything went great, but then somehow someone called her and said, "Your cat got out of your apartment." So she essentially said, "Look, I have to go home right away." Apparently he picked her up. He drove her home. She was all distraught. And he says, "Hey, I'm sorry." And hey, yeah, I got to find my cat. So this guy had a good time on the first date. He drives around the corner and thinks, "You know what? I think I'm going to try to find her cat." So he gets out of his car, and she described what the cat looked before he dropped her off. Gets out of his car, and he says it's dark, and he's looking for the cat, and he gets hit by a car. Okay? So the interesting part of the thing is she knows nothing of this. So Jubal calls this guy, and he's like, talking like that, blah, blah. And he's like, and so finally they say, "Are you okay?" And he says, "I just got out of the hospital." So they said, "Well, what happened?" "Well, I went on the first date. She said she lost her cat, and I dropped her off, and I went around the block, and I decided I'm going to try to find the cat, and I got hit by a car." And they all go, "Oh, my God." All his ribs were broken. Broken arm. I think he broke a leg, too. He's been in the hospital for like a week. That's why he's not responding to her text. Because
do you think that's a true story?
Well,
it sounds like a good bit.
Let me tell you something. If this was a setup, they got world-class actors because...
Yeah, it was an elaborate setup if it was.
I don't think it was. I mean, I have an ear for this. I have an ear. Matter of fact, I have a friend who works another radio station, and from time to time, I will listen. It's not in this market. When I drive somewhere, I listen to him, and sometimes I will text him. My running joke is I go, "Real or fake?" And if I'm driving along, he doesn't even know I'm in the city. It's not around here. It's far away. And he doesn't know I'm in the city. And I'm listening to his morning show, and I'll text him. I go, "That was real. That was fake." And he laughs sometimes. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I get it wrong. So anyway, the interesting thing was then they put the two on the phone together. So at first, she's upset because this guy is ghosting her, but then she finds out, oh my God, what a nice guy. He dropped me off and he stopped his car and he's trying to find my cat and he's looking around and he gets hit by a car. So then the kicker of the story is he says to her in like this drug stupor voice, "Did you find your cat?" And she says, "Yeah, it was in my closet."
Oh, that's great.
So then they always offer, "Hey, would you like to go on a second date? We'll pay for it." And the guy's like, "I don't think I can go anywhere for a while." So she chimes in, the woman on the other side of the equation chimes in and says, "How about if I come over to your place and I'll bring you dinner?" Okay.
Oh, that's he's thinking, gosh dang it, now I got to clean this place up.
Right. I got to get rid of all the porn that's laying around.
I hope the Jubal show titled it Chasing Pussy Cat.
I don't know if they did or not.
The
Okay.
challenge is a chasing pussycat.
John, I have come to conclusion that my vinegar and water and Dawn solution is not working up to my expectations. Now, part of the problem is basically I'm a cheapskate and I'm buying food grade vinegar. Well, it's all food grade, but I'm buying vinegar.
Is it white grade? Is it white vinegar?
Well, it doesn't matter because it's 5%. Okay, the stuff you buy at Schnucks and Deer Burgers and places like that is 5% vinegar. And all the sites say you have to buy the industrial strength, which is at least 40 to 50% actual vinegar. The rest of the stuff is like, doesn't that make you feel good?
Acetic acid is what the active ingredient in vinegar
right,
is.
that when you're buying the regular vinegar, you think you're buying vinegar, you're buying 95% water and 5% vinegar. That's what you're paying for.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
And for folks who don't remember, is this at one of the transmitter sites, Brad?
Well, it's all over the place. Transmitter sites, my office, the whole bit. Okay. So the deal was what you do is you take vinegar and you put a gallon of vinegar and you put some salt in it, which essentially is going to I would say sterilize the ground, but John would get mad at me. And
I quibble with that. But you add a little bit of, but your Roundup that I should point out too that Roundup or any other generic, if you buy a generic glyphosate, it will include an active ingredient, but also salt. And then, Brad, the Dawn is what we call a surfactant,
right,
which helps permeate the leaf of the plant.
Right. So I have used this. I use this Ortho Ground Clear, which John made fun of me because of the fact that he says, Brad, you're just buying Roundup. That's all it is. But
it's mostly Roundup with an additional active ingredient, sure.
Right, which is supposedly keep stuff from growing for a while. Okay, so all of my experiments have not turned out well, even to the point where the areas that I went out and I bought 40-pound bags of salt, and I salted some of these areas at one of my transmitter sites, and there's stuff growing up. So that didn't work as well, too. So over the weekend, I'm looking at the websites again, and John's going to make fun of me because it sounds like I'm obsessed with it, but it's gotten to the point where I'm like the anti-weed guy. I'm getting into this. So I find another chemical. Let me bring it up here on the website, which is supposedly really good stuff. And I want you to, let's see if you know which one this is.
Yeah, sure. I'll bring it up at the same time and we'll see what the actives are.
And it is called, I believe it's called Erasure. Have you ever heard of this before?
No, I haven't.
It's made by a company called Control Solutions, and it's just called Erase. And it says weed and grass killer concentrate. Now, do you have it right there? Can you look at it?
Yeah, and does it say, is the brand name Martin?
Yes, Martin's Eraser.
A Control Solution. Okay.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but the active ingredient, it says 41% glyphosate.
Okay. But it says other ingredients, 59%, but they don't tell you what those other ingredients are.
But the one that I'm looking at, Brad, says Eraser A/P. Is that the one you're looking at?
No, I'm just looking at just regular Acer. What's Eraser A/P? What's that for?
That's made by Martin too. It's Eraser A/P herbicide, and that one is the active ingredient is 41% glyphosate, then with some inactive ingredients, and it says competitor comparison is Scott's Roundup. So this is like a generic version of Roundup.
Okay, my question to you is: are all these just Roundup?
A lot of them are. Yeah, a lot of them are going to be whatever so think of it as a Schnucks brand or Deerberg's brand, or in this case, a private label maker of glyphosate. So what companies like the old Monsanto and now Bayer would do is you mine the minerals, you manufacture it, and then you sell it to other companies and they can slap their label on it.
Okay, so my next question is, how come these other companies aren't being sued like everybody's suing Monsanto/Bayer?
That's a great question, Brad. The short answer is Bayer has the money. And I'm guessing Martin's and ControlSolutions.com isn't sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars.
So in other words, it's the deep-pocketed things. They're going after the companies that got the deep pockets.
And I think that, too, you could also show that because Bayer is the manufacturer of the product and actually makes the product. And also remember, too, I don't think this is too far into the proverbial weeds here, but companies like Monsanto and Bayer are actually responsible for the federal label. So they're the ones that go before the EPA and say, here's our safety profile. Here's all the research we've done. Then the other companies pay a modest token fee to Monsanto or Bayer in order to be able to use the registration rights. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, but since it's off patent right now, can't anybody use it? They don't have to have Bayer or Monsanto's permission.
Yeah, you're right. Glyphosate itself is off patent, which is why you can take the chemistry and call it erasure or call it whatever you want to.
Okay, one more step in this, John, and this is Brad Nerdville. Okay, so I go into Wally World on Saturday. And I go into the section to try to buy because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I give up. I'm just going to go back to Roundup. And
mixing it because you've always mixed the concentrate into a larger solution, right?
Right, exactly. I buy the concentrate, like I got a 2-gallon sprayer and it says 2 ounces per gallon, so I put in 4 ounces, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I go in there and I realize, and I'm reaching far on the shelf, what I think is Monsanto Roundup concentrate, and it's called Eliminator. And I look at it, and I think to myself, okay, what is this? It is Wally World's knockoff, clone product. It's the same stuff, but the packaging looks very close to what the Monsanto.
Yeah, I see it right now. You would think it was Roundup, right?
It doesn't. Am I kidding about how it looks very similar to the?
You're right.
So, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I buy the same thing from Bayer. This package, because I know what it cost me at like one of the other stores. They did not have this particular size of container at Wally World, but I know what it goes for at HD and Lowe's and things like that. It's like $18, okay? This was $11.94, okay? But it's the same stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. And so here's my advice to you, Brad. I would buy the generic Wally World Eliminator brand. The advantage of buying a name brand comes in if you're a farmer. Because if you're a farmer and you buy name brand Roundup agricultural herbicide, Power Max, or whatever particular flavor you want on your crops, and you have failure in the crops, and you say, hey, look, this herbicide didn't work as I thought it would, you're more likely to have a Bayer rep come out, take a look at it, and say, okay, we're going to give you bought it for 200 acres. We're going to give you 200 acres free. We're going to make you whole. You're not going to get that from your generic farm herbicide supplier. Now, when it comes to using it at a transmitter site or at home, Brad, if I didn't have enough name brand Roundup to last me a lifetime in my garage and basement, I would go out there and buy the Walmart brand.
Okay, one other thing, John, and you're going to laugh when I tell you this story. Okay, at my transmitter site, at the crap transmitter site, and if people drive along 47, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have farm on the north of me, farm on the south of me. Farm on the north of me, I have what I say is Roundup drift, because the probably 10 feet of my grass on my side of the property line is dead. So when Joe Farmer to the north of me sprayed his Roundup, the wind got it? Is that what it is?
It could be, Brad. Also, it's also possible that it could be another type of herbicide. It doesn't mean it's necessarily Roundup, but it would probably be Roundup. Now, that is due to application error, and you've been around long enough, Brad, that you know that is not wherever that farmer bought the herbicide from. It's not the herbicide's fault. The physical drift of that has nothing to do with the properties of glyphosate or any other herbicide. It has to do with the fact that he was spraying maybe on a windy day. He was spraying maybe when the temperature was too high. You had temperature inversion. It drifted over. It has nothing to do with the herbicide actually being volatile, and has everything to do with farmer error.
So what he doesn't realize, he just thinks, oh, the guy with the radio station, I got some of his property. What he doesn't realize is that is Pastor Brad's turf farm, where I sell.
Yeah, it sure is.
I sell blessed turf. I go out there with my plugger and I plug a bunch of it, and then I put it in a package for 6 plugs. I get $10,000 for that, and I send it around the world, and people plant this in their front yard, and good things happen to them because it's blessed by Pastor Brad, and it comes from Crapville, the most unique place. And by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but I am the official mayor of Crapville.
Oh, I knew that. Yeah, you actually have it on your resume. I saw the Word doc.
Right. And, you see these cities all the time. Sometimes you enter a city, it says our sister city is like Murbach, Germany, right?
Yeah.
I am reaching out to another city in Missouri. Me as the mayor of Crapville, my sister city, I want Uranus, Missouri.
Oh, that would make sense, Brandon, in a potty kind of way. I thought you were going to say Tunerville.
No, I want to put my sign on 47, sister city to Uranus, Missouri.
I'm not surprised by any of this. And it's unfortunate we're over time, or else I'd make a joke about you taking women out to the transmitter for some plugging, Brad. I mean, if I owned a transmitter site, I'd do some plugging out at the site too, you know?
Okay, John. Say goodbye.
Do you catch my herbicide drift? See you tomorrow.
I did, unfortunately.